Welcome to Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. I'm Steven, and tonight, whenever the heck you're watching this, we are getting into the best rye whiskeys of 2021, according to Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. So we are talking about the best ryes of 2021. In order to be considered on this list, you had to be a rye that either came out in 2021 or a bottle of rye whiskey that we found out existed or tried for the first time in 2021. Since we don't try everything, I kind of tried staying away from previous years released whiskeys outside of 2021, obviously. But there are a few honorable mentions, and we kind of front-loaded those honorable mentions for best rye whiskeys of 2021. So the first three are going to be ones from previous years. The last four that we have on this list are going to be bottles that came out in 2021 and were amazing. So without further ado, to kick it off, the seventh best rye whiskey that we tried, this was released previously, I know, but this is Pinhook Straight Rye Whiskey. I know, a budget whiskey. What the heck is this doing on best rye whiskeys? But honestly, this was a rye whiskey I didn't try previous to this year, and I was blown away with how good it was. The most interesting thing about this bottle, in my opinion, is that this is from their own stock. This is a newer craft distillery, or well, newer as in they're not super duper old. I think they started up 5 or 6 years ago. This bottle is only at a minimum of 2 years old, so, not that crazy, but I think it's fantastic that they were a bottle or a brand that started off MGP heavy, and now they're kind of dialing that back and starting to bring their own stuff, and that's, I think, fantastic. A craft distillery, a new up-and-comer that is actually releasing their own stuff for once. That's fantastic. And then the next bottle, another slightly craft distillery, but I've become a really big fanboy of them, and that is Redwood Empire Emerald Giant, the sixth best rye whiskey we had in 2021. This is the perfect daily sipper for a rye whiskey, in my opinion, and I don't think anything matches it at that price point of like the $35-ish. $5 more than that Pinhook, but it is noticeably better in my humble opinion. And then last on the list of previous year's releases that we found out just existed is going to be none other than another one you've heard a lot about, Sagamore Spirits Rye, double oaked. This is fantastic. This is a very, very unique rye. It is very spicy, very herbaceous, but it also brings a lot of toasted marshmallow, oak, burnt sugars, brown sugar from that double oaking process, that, toasted barrel double oaking process. It just brings it into a very, very solid, like campfire rye whiskey. The best available rye whiskey in 2021, in my opinion, because it's budget, it's available, but it didn't come out in 2021 technically. So that's why it is fifth on the list and not number one. And also, this list doesn't inherently have to do with budget. It's just kind of what is the best whiskey we tried. I know I grade everything pretty heavy on value and budget, but this list aside, budget doesn't matter. It's just, do you like it or not? From the budget stuff, from the previous year's stuff, 2021, number 4 on my list is going to be Doc Swinson's Alter Ego Rye Whiskey. This is a Solera aged rye whiskey. This is finished in rum casks, and that's what makes it super, super interesting and amazing. It is basically MGP rye whiskey that's finished in rum. It balances out that super spice, herbaceous notes from the rye with a very sweet, chilled, like fruity flavors, and it's fantastic. So amazing. It is a perfect marriage of spiciness and sweet. And then coming up next, number 3 is going to be Stellam Rye. This rye whiskey is fantastic. It is essentially everything you expect or want in a cask strength rye whiskey. This one isn't third on the list because it's the most unique or interesting. It's very typical rye, but it's very typical rye done in a really, really great way. It's balanced, it's complex in the sense of complex with stereotypical rye notes, and it's just an overall solid pour. And the best part about this, unlike all their other offerings that are like $90 to $100, this one's like $55. And up next, second place for best rye whiskey that we tried in 2021 isn't even an American product, but that's why it's second place. This is an interesting rye whiskey. It's a new one for us, but it is Obtainium Canadian Rye Whiskey. This particular bottle is a Bourbon Junkies pick. It is their King of the North pick, and I freaking love this. It is pinewood, bubblegum, and citrus. Even though it's really hot, it's also light. Like, the flavors aren't super strong. They're not super intense. It's just pine, bubblegum, citrus, a lot of earthy, dense flavors. And honestly, this is a bottle that made me realize that maybe Canadian cask strength rye whiskey does have a place in the market. And first place, but certainly not least, my favorite rye whiskey this year. The most interesting rye whiskey I've ever had in my entire life, Barrel Seagrass. They finish it in Martinique rum, Madeira, and apricot brandy barrels. And it makes such a wild whiskey. It's an atypical rye, but that's what's so good about it. It's very polarizing. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm under the category of loved it. It's not a normal rye whiskey. It's really freaking sweet for a rye whiskey, but it's so fruity and candied that you can't not love it. Or at least in my opinion, I can't not love it. I thought it was amazing all the way through. And it shows you what can be achieved when you blend things properly. That's a wrap for this video though. As always, please do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys thought about this video. Let us know what you guys thought about my list. Let us know what your guys' list for best ryes of 2021 are. I know there's a lot of stuff I was unable to get. This is just the top of what I was able to find, and honestly, it was 4 bottles of whiskey that were released this year, and then 3 that weren't, so it is what it is. But also, check out the Instagram, Facebook, and our Patreon. The link for that Patreon is down there below. We appreciate y'all for your support. That's gonna be a wrap for this video. Cheers, y'all. We'll see you later.